Okay, welcome to this session. We're going to talk about TV Everywhere services, which is an area which I'm truly excited about, especially when you think about the evolution in sort of bandwidth that the Thomson guy talked about previously, coupled with sort of the increase in bandwidth to consumers available by consumer broadband, then you realize that there are really no cost inhibitors for rolling out sort of IP-based TV services to anyone in the next couple of years. What I'll talk about, so the session is called Integrating TV Everywhere. There will be a lot of talk about TV everywhere and less talk about integration. But I will touch upon a few of the sort of learning points that we have faced over the past couple of years. So I will mention a few words about us for those of you who don't know about us. Talk about the market trends. I think this is a key area where we need to start in order to analyze the TV Everywhere market. What is TV Everywhere and what are the opportunities and challenges? That is the next and the main topic actually for this session. And I will touch upon, for those of you who are not sort of very familiar with the TV industry in itself, I will talk a bit about my view of the TV industry over the coming 10 years or so. So Oxydo, we're the global market leader in TV application solutions. So we're actually the ones that create and run a lot of the TV Everywhere services that are well known in the market. We've done more than 1,000 deployments of TV applications around the world, with anything from an app management solution to TV Everywhere applications, so advertising solutions and similar things. But everything is centered around the TV application layer. We work mainly with media companies and service providers, pay TV operators and pay TV channels and so on. The ones that provide the full TV experience on any device. We're currently 140 people in 9 offices and we have been in business for about 10 years working with TV applications. The 6 business areas that we're working at the moment is, as I mentioned, we have a TV application management is a key area where essentially we're running app store solutions for major consumer electronics companies like Panasonic and Sharp and for service providers like Deutsche Telekom and Orange. But we're also doing application development and application developer solutions where yesterday our AdMediate advertising solution, which is used for TV applications, was one of the won one of the awards for the best video ad platform. So things like that connected to the TV application ecosystem is where we are focused. Examples of customers, I will take a few more examples as examples of TV Everywhere services, but in the media side we work with major brands like HBO and Disney and Spotify and Channel 4 and so on. And on the service provider side, the operators, we're working with typically telcos or cable companies and similar, Deutsche Telekom, Orange, Foxtel, Telstra. And in the platform space, it's normally the consumer electronics platforms, whether that's a TV manufacturer, someone who's indirectly providing a consumer platform like TiVo or Roku. Those would be customer of ours. So enough about us. Hopefully I got the message through to you in the couple of minutes that I think we have done more TV Everywhere integrations than anyone else in the market. So the way we're looking at the market is fundamentally we're seeing a shift from a linear TV experience to non-demand experience. This is not anything new for any one of you here. But what may or may not be known to you is that the TV industry, of course, is a huge industry. It's a $300 billion industry, potentially up to $400 billion, depending on how you count the ad revenues, but it's a huge industry. And more or less everything in this industry is related to the linear TV experience. That's where all the money is made, either from linear subscriptions, like a channel package that you pay money for, or from advertising in those linear channels. So the real change here is when these $300–400 billion would be moved from the linear channels to something else. The consumers, I think, are there. They would like to have all the content available at the press of a button at any given point in time, but the business models are not really there. No one is really interested in changing an extremely profitable value chain, $300-400 billion value chain, and everyone in the value chain make a lot of money. So why would anyone want to change this? Well, fundamentally, I think the change will be because online connectivity is a fact. This won't go away, right? So everyone will have online connectivity, and as I previously mentioned, bandwidth is going up and bandwidth requirements are going down. So this will be cheaper and cheaper to distribute online content. We think there will be 500 million online TV devices by 2015. I exclude, in my definition here, I exclude the mobile devices. So these are TV devices, so game consoles, media players, IPTV set-top boxes, hybrid set-top boxes, smart TVs, anything that is sort of in the living room related to a TV experience. So 500 million will be used in active use. So it's a huge market. And these devices, coupled with all the mobile devices, God knows how many billion mobile devices there will be by 2015, gives the opportunity to everyone in this industry to make more money or replace existing money by moving sort of parts of the experience to these new devices. I will get back about the multi-screen convergence, but what is really driving this change, I mean, if all the same companies were there, the BBCs and the Channel 4s of this world, and the Skies and the Virgin Medias of this world, if those were the only ones there, this would be really, really a slow development. But now we see all the new players, the Love Films and the Netflixes of this world, they will move in here and force the existing players to move faster, which is totally a natural development. In any new emerging industry, we see increased competition from new players driving the sort of incumbents to move. And I think that's actually quite a good sign of the state of the industry, that there is a possibility to move in for new players. So the value chain, I mentioned this $300 billion value chain, and I won't go into the details about the value chain, but content is being sold to the channels are being sold to the pay TV operators, the pay TV operators bundle everything and sell it as a subscription to consumers. That's essentially driving the value chain of TV. But what we're seeing now is that content owners, the Hollywood movies, movie studios and music rights holders, whatever, they're moving directly and selling to consumers. The aggregators, the TV channels and the video on demand providers, they are going to any services and selling directly to consumers. Operators, of course, they are moving in and adding a sort of a second screen and a TV device service on top of their set-top box device. And we have the device manufacturers, the Samsung and LG and similar companies are also trying to grab a piece of the TV pie. And this disruption of the value chain will make it possible for new companies to emerge and new technologies to emerge. I like the quote from Mr. Hastings at Netflix here, that essentially just with the emergence of sort of internet TV, the TV distribution over internet, there will be a need for someone. All these new players will have to have a user experience to distribute all this content, right? It won't just come to the consumer. There will have to be a user experience, and we call this user experience applications. So the applications will be the way to compete for any of these device manufacturers, any of these content providers and aggregators. And what we believe is, of course, that the real challenge with TV Everywhere is to define and decide on the TV Everywhere applications and roll them out cost efficiently and manage them over time. So I've identified 5 different market trends for TV, and this will essentially illustrate the points I will make in the next 5 or 10 slides or so. So first of all, the linear pay TV packages won't go away immediately, but over the next 5 to 10 years, they will start move towards subscription over the top video. I mean, the typical example that you all know about is Netflix, right? People are suddenly paying $7 or $8 per month, and they get an all-you-can-eat subscription. So from a consumer's perspective, this is very similar to what they've used to do with a channel package from a pay TV operator, right? It's just that it's cheaper and it's different content. But from a consumer's mind, it's all you can eat. I pay for a bundle of stuff. I get a monthly invoice, or it's charged on my credit card. Same. So this is a very attractive business model for consumers and will stay. Subscriptions will be the key driver of revenues going forward as well. And this is a bit more controversial maybe. So historically, the operators have been in control of the consumer. The operators, the Skies and Virgin Medias of this world, they are controlling the entire experience. They're charging the consumer. They're deciding which channels should be promoted. They're deciding the prices and so on. With the new devices emerging, suddenly TV channels can be in control of their own destiny for the first time in history. And I think this is a key driver of innovation here. The TV channels that we work with, they move much faster than the service providers, and they bring much more innovation to the market. So the channels will be more in control over the content user interface and content packaging than they've had in the past. This is not very controversial, especially not on this event. Of course, people used to have one device to consume content, a TV, either with some sort of analog connection or a set-top box. Now everyone has many devices, 2, 3, 4, 5 devices in the home. And they should have the same, they want to have the same content experience on all of them. They will not have that in the short run, but in the long run, that's of course where we go. Over the past 10 years, we've had video on demand. It's never really been sort of a huge revenue driver, especially not a margin driver. It's been a way to differentiate your offering, but you really make money out of the subscription packages. What we see now is that transaction VOD is moving slowly but surely towards subscription VOD when there is more margins. You can sort of package stuff in a subscription offering and make more margins from consumers. There are, for those of you who know about content rights, there are different windows where you can sort of get access to certain content, and some of especially the blockbuster movies will not be available in subscription VOD rights. They will only be available in transaction rights. But apart from that, you will definitely see a trend towards subscription VOD. And finally, historically we've seen the integrated experience. You get a set-top box from your TV manufacturer, you have an integrated experience, you can't really change anything. It's not, if you personalize something, it's about adding bookmarks or favorites, but that's about it. And now you will move into, I would probably have quotation marks around this, but you move into some sort of app store experience. And an app store experience is not so much about the apps itself, it's about you choosing which providers of content that you want to have on your device. So if you want to be sort of the Netflix user, you can sort of course have the sort of Netflixified experience together with maybe your favorite TV channel catch-up services, and you can customize the experience more or less as you like. And that has historically been impossible to do. But if you make the analysis of all these trends, what you find is that really the major mega trend is fragmentation. From a consumer's point of view, there will be so many devices, so many options, different business models, different providers. So really what we're seeing is the fragmentation is the overarching mega trend that everyone is moving into this area need to deal with. There is really no way around it. I'm telling everyone of our customers, you can't just hope for some sort of everything will come together in the near future and we'll make money that way. Just deal with the fragmentation. There is really no way around it. So that was sort of the overall background of the market. You know, fragmentation, many devices, new business models. A $300 billion value chain is rapidly changing over the coming 10 years. So TV everywhere. In this context, I've defined TV everywhere as a service offered, so you can define it in any way you like, but the way we have defined it is a service offered by pay TV operators and tier 1 media companies to provide premium content to multiple consumer electronics devices over the internet. So the key here would be premium content, right? So we don't include a YouTube service or something similar as a TV everywhere service. It has to be authentication, DRM protected, advanced subscription, relationships with consumers, support, and everything that you require from sort of a premium service. But it's what is important is that, of course, internet distribution and consumer electronics devices, and those two together would be sort of what we normally call over-the-top distribution. Internet distribution to a uncontrolled consumer electronics device. So why would a pay TV operator do this? Because they have control of the consumers now, right? So there are two main reasons. First of all, there is a defensive play. They would like to protect OTT over the top, for those of you who don't know it. It's a defensive play. You're trying to defend your business against Netflix. So Netflix is saying, one subscription, you can get the content on any device. As a pay TV operator, you would like to say the same thing. If you subscribe to my subscription, you will get the content on any device. That's a defensive play. The offensive play would essentially be, I have my subscriber base, but I can't really grow. And the reason why I can't grow could be because my network is not good enough, or I might be a satellite provider and I can't really reach consumers without a satellite dish. I can't really grow anymore. And by going on internet, I can reach new consumers. So that's the offensive play. Media companies, TV channels and video demand providers, they're easier, I would say. So TV channels depends on if you're a premium or an ad-funded TV channel, but fundamentally it's about, if you're thinking about it like this, what is the biggest worry of a TV channel? It's that consumers engage with just the content and not the channel, right? If people just go to watch a certain piece of content, a movie, then why would the TV channel even exist? So what they really want to do long term is to create sort of the consumer brand that they're the trusted packager and enabler of a content experience. That's what they've been trying to do with all the websites, all the mobile apps, and now on a TV Everywhere app, which is the catch-up TV app. So I include here, of course, the ITV player and the 4OD apps as a TV Everywhere app. The second thing here, the value-added services to TV operator customers, that's essentially if for tier ones, for the public service broadcast and so on, they wouldn't need something like this. But if you're someone like Discovery Channel or Bloomberg TV, or someone who's sort of a niche channel, premium but niche, you need to convince the pay TV operators to include your channel in their packages. That's how you make most of your money. So how do you do this? Well, you can, of course, convince them that if you work with us, we can provide a value-added offering that will only be available via your network, right? So if you're a mobile operator, then it's only available in your mobile network, or in the cable network, you can only use that application in that network. So it's possible to play with an OTT offering to drive sales, essentially. Additional revenues, that's still early days, but fundamentally you can make money out of these new apps, right? So you can add new business models, extra content, things that are too niche to distribute in their linear channels. So you can definitely drive additional revenues. Finally, this is, of course, for some of the channels. Let's take HBO as an example. I think Game of Thrones is one of the most pirated TV shows ever. And if they can just provide an alternative to piracy, there would be more revenues for them to get. So for premium pay TV channels that have highly pirated content, this is important for them in order to change the direction the market is going. So that's the definition that we have made. So currently we see four specific strategies from major providers. So the first one is the pay TV operator extension. That's probably the most common one at the moment. So pay TV operator extension would essentially be how do I reach, there are two things here. How do I reach the other TVs in the house, right? So the set-top box is normally the main TV. How can I offer to my consumers the possibility of getting additional, the core content on the other devices? The second one, how do I offer the possibilities for my customers to access the content outside of the house? So, of course, outside of the house would be a mobile device, and inside the house could be via a game console or a smart TV, but on the second and third TV in the other rooms. Xfinity is Comcast's brand for this type of service. And the second one is from here locally. Sky is now TV offering. That's very exciting, I think, because it's what I would call then an off-network operator TV everywhere service. So instead of enhancing, Sky Go would be something like this, right? You enhance the existing subscription. But the interesting thing with Now TV is that you're actually targeting new consumers. It's a way to expand your reach. There would be consumers who are not interested in buying a full Sky subscription. They can now do that via the Now TV service offering. The third one is, I call it authenticated catch-up service. HBO, with the HBO Go service is including that one. So normally it's a premium, it's a pay TV service, right? Because there is an authentication, a payment mechanism involved in some ways. And the final is, of course, the open catch-up TV service, where you have the big ad-funded or public service broadcasters that have a free service. But it's still a premium service. So the four strategic channels here, I've made a few examples to give a bit more sort of flavor to these four strategies. So the first one is really, the first one is this, right? My strategy, my business is threatened by OTT players. How do I cope with that, right? That's the standard reason for doing something like this. The second one, the off-network one, is my market is saturating. How do I reach new consumers? How do I reach new revenues? How can I compete with the market? And the third one, about authenticated catch-up services. And that's really how do I cope with the reduction of linear TV consumptions? How can I sort of stave off the risk that consumers are not really using my services anymore going forward? And finally, why would someone like this do a catch-up TV service? Well, in the case of BBC, that's a special case, right? Because they are doing it because they have the money and they want to do it. But for a commercial broadcast, why would they want to do it? Because they make all the money out of the linear broadcasting. But essentially, they have so much content that they cannot really monetize. They see the possibility in the future to get more consumer views, to get more consumer engagement by bringing out a larger selection of content. And this is the only way they can do it cost efficiently. I think I've run this example. So HBO. So one of the key things with any TV or service, you can't just do it for one platform, right? So HBO, God knows how many platforms we have deployed on, but it's we have the game consoles and the media players and the mobile devices and the smart TVs. So that's of course the way to go. So, a few learning points from our perspective, right? So we work with the application side of things, right? So we don't work with specifically what we do not do is the video platforms, right? There are numerous providers here at this show and out in the world that provide video platforms. So we just do the application layer, do the integration with whatever video platform and backend solution is available, and we make it fly on the sort of client devices. What are the learning points that we have seen? The first one is, it's a fact, right? We have fragmented device technologies in the market. Our recommendation there is really what I would say, avoid specific software. So we have customers where they actually have they have numerous different vendors. So one vendor is responsible for this application, and one vendor is responsible for this application, and a third vendor is responsible for this application, and you end up with sort of a very fragmented way of working. If you do it right from the beginning, you can actually reuse the same code structure for all the different devices. They're not identical, but you can definitely reuse a lot of things. Video quality and security. This is not something we do, but it's definitely something we have learned, that's normally the challenge. If you don't do it right from the beginning, you end up with a bit of a mess. So evaluate, before anyone should engage with someone like us, right? Evaluate multiple video streaming platforms. There may be specific aspects in your market or in your country or in your sort of with your content that you need to, that you don't even know before evaluating video platforms. So spend some time on that. Monetization. How do we make money out of this? Sometimes we after launch, we sort of, we find that there is really no monetization plan in place. How would we make money out of this? Well, it's really costly to run it. How can we justify doing something like this? My recommendation is always to, so what I've said here is avoid separate business models. Consumers are, it's still early days, right? So consumers are not really ready to pay extra for TV everywhere. They may be in the future, but stay off the sort of traditional business model. Well, we can get 10% buy-through on the TV everywhere, and we charge $3.95 a month, and so on. Stay off that. It's too complex. People will complain to the customer support. You risk alienating existing subscribers. So just include it in whatever existing business model and make the investment for the future. Loss of control, and this is probably important because people normally don't realize it. So when you embark on a TV Everywhere service, you end up with maybe 15 different apps in different generations and for different platforms, and at the same time there are new platforms coming out in the market, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and everything starts to be quite complex, and you need to have a huge team just to manage all of that. And you quickly lose control. Well, didn't we launch this last year? What's the version of that? And consumers complaining because there are no functionality on one app that has been communicated in marketing. So make sure that you have a management strategy, right? Management and maintenance of this. What will happen after go live? Do we need a solution to just keep track of all the software? Can we establish sort of publishing processes? If we do a quick update on an app, how do we get that out to the devices? Can we just publish, or is there a need for a manufacturer to approve stuff? And that sort of process needs to be defined already from the beginning. It's not that complex. You just need to do it and make sure that your organization can deal with that. The integrated user experience. So to me, this is about making the different apps on different devices play together, right? So you will have consumers using the mobile devices when they're out and about, right? Then the mobile apps have to work by themselves. And then you will have consumers who will use the mobile devices in the living room. And then the mobile device need to work in conjunction with the big screen device, right? So you need to make sure that the functionality of the different apps belong together, right? So in this case, if you have two different TV devices, the likelihood that you will use both at the same time is very low. So that's not relevant. But the mobile device and the TV device is very relevant. So think about the different mobile use cases and make sure that they work together with the big screen use case when you define your sort of launch strategy. And there are a number of different technologies to do this, and we have one, and there are competitive technologies in the market. But I think the fundamentals for consumers who have a mobile device to be able to browse and read and discover things on the mobile device, and then watch something on the big screen. And then while you're watching something, you can continue to discover something else and then continue to watch that. That's a pretty nice experience. Great, making good time here. So that's sort of the overall about TV, the recommendations. So the future of the TV industry. Of course, I could continue saying that everything would be TV everywhere, and we would be very, very happy if we just embark on this road in the future. But I would like to take a few different examples of things I think will change in the TV industry over the next 10 years. So what's in the crystal ball? The first thing, if we look at the TV market, so I've heard over the past sort of 5-6 years that the TV market in 10 years from now will be completely changed. Every consumer will find their own content at any given time, and the market will go through the same shift as the music industry will have declined with 50% over the next 3-4 years. My forecast is that the overall TV market will continue to grow and not decline. The reason is that it's fundamentally much more complex, both from a rights perspective and from a technology perspective than the music industry. We haven't seen any signs that the TV market is declining. In fact, it's still growing, both in revenues and number of pay TV subscribers globally. Ad markets are, of course, shifting a bit depending on sort of recession and so on. But fundamentally, the TV market is still growing. And I think it will still grow with between 0 and 5% per year over the next 10 years, globally. Some markets will decline and some markets will grow faster. Content aggregation. So content aggregation, the TV channels and the video on providers. That's where everyone thinks there is a gold mine at the moment. So everyone is moving into this area. Well, we want to do a video on demand service as well. I mean, how difficult can it be? We just set up a few servers, blah, 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 blah. And this is now, we see exactly the same thing as we've seen previously in early stage market. It will be extremely competitive to make money out of a video on demand service, a movies on demand service. So if you're embarking on that, in that direction, you need to execute well, and you need to have strong brands in the background, and you need to have the marketing dollars to be one of the winners, because it will be very, very competitive. And finally, I think at this show it might not be too controversial, but the big screen experience, I've also heard many people say that with the emergence of personal screens, tablets and so on, the big screen will be no more, and everyone takes examples that in my home my kids are sort of sitting in their own room and they're watching everything on their tablets and so on. But the big screen, if we look at the actual numbers, globally, mass market, worldwide, normal consumers, people are using TVs, the big physical screens for consumption of content, and it's still increasing. I have a few interesting numbers here. That might change in 10 years from now, but over the coming 10 years, it's still definitely relevant. So I have some numbers here from Ujala. So essentially what it says, you might have seen this, essentially, but here we have the different device types, right? So desktops, mobile tablets, and then TV devices. So really the interesting data here is that the long-form content is much more used on TV devices, whereas the other devices are used more short-form content. So the more premium, the more long-form, the more real TV content you have, the higher extent of consumptions you will have on the bigger screen devices. Of course, this is a snapshot of now, and we don't know how things will change over in the future, but this is what I think will stay the same. Consumer behaviors don't change as quickly as we think in the near term. Second area, technology landscape. How do we think that will change? First of all, device fragmentation, I think it will remain. There are some hopes about sort of standardization. I don't really believe in those, and the reason is that it's such a high growth area, and if there is a high growth area, people tend to innovate. Every company in this market tend to want to bring out something which is different from competitors. And if it's different from competitors, you need to bring out features that no one else has, and that brings device fragmentation. Of course, there will be some sort of HTML5 app platform on all the devices. But if you go for a least common denominator, then you will be a Me Too service. So if you want to use all the fancy stuff on all these devices, you need to accept the fragmentation. So again, a recommendation from me to everyone is just accept the fragmentation and live with it. If you do a good software architecture, you can sort of actually deal with it in a good way, having the same app on all platforms and having it adapt dynamically. And then what I would call applications. And applications, what we mean with a mobile app might not be the case in the future. An application to me is a branded user experience. It doesn't have to be downloaded. It could be a sort of more of a website style of a piece of software. But an application is an entity that is packaged to consumers with a brand on it. And those applications will be the main interface to consume content rather than this integrated experience that you have today. And this is interesting, I think, operator-specific devices. So at the moment, operators are sort of a bit playing defensively, right? So they have their set-top boxes. And the set-top box market is declining, not in numbers yet, but that will happen because everyone is using consumer devices to bring out the next generation of content. What I think will happen is that operator devices will exist, but as software layers instead of specific devices. So we will have someone like maybe, let's say, Virgin Media will sign a deal with LG. And they will sign a deal that all LG devices above 50-inch will come pre-configured. So if you just plug them into a Virgin Media home, the UI will change, and it will be a Virgin Media UI. That's not impossible, and that's an operator-specific device without the necessity of bringing a set-top box to the market. This will happen over the next, well, not that specific example, but the general trend will happen over the next 3 to 5 years. User experiences. I have a few examples here, and then I'll leave for some questions. So the innovation will happen from broadcasters and media companies. I think they are much faster movers than the service providers. The niche content will go over the top, right? So if you're a, I don't know, cooking channel or something like that, it will be less and less valuable for you to actually have a linear channel. You would want to go fully over the top because it's cheaper, and you don't have to deal with negotiation with the different pay TV operators, and you can go directly to consumers and control the experience. And then second screen, I mentioned before, that's the key to providing the next generation of user interfaces. I have a few examples here. I don't want to run through them all, but let's just touch upon, this is Fox, this is Discovery, this is from Australia, some sort of Australian football, and this is Terra in Latin America. So let me just touch upon one example here as in terms of innovation. Terra in Brazil, they had the rights for the Olympics in London. So they did that sort of as live streaming via some sort of service provider platform. But on the TV devices, the TV everywhere services, they decided, since there is a time difference between London and Brazil, they wanted to have like a catch-up service, right? A sports catch-up service. So they did a catch-up service. During the day, they recorded everything, of course. And they chopped it up in like 5-minute chunks, and they sorted it into a service with clips from every sport imaginable, from archery to women's gymnastics, and they made it searchable. So every day there were like 1,000 new clips in various categories. And I think that's an example of something that of innovation, of packaging something. It brings consumer value to something which is niche, to be honest, right? A niche content that is packaged in a new way. And they can charge consumers fees. They had like an Olympics fee for that specific service. Another example from a customer in North America, which was also niche content, but they have a purely paid premium model. It's WWE with the WrestleMania. You can see here they charge $60 for a pay-per-view access to WrestleMania. And of course, their incentive is, well, their fan base, I think they have sell like 1 million pay-per-view subscriptions every time. So $60 times 1 million, that's 60 million per event, right? So the only thing they need to do is to reach out to their audience, because they know that their fans will buy this anywhere. And if they reach out to the audience, they just need to do it in the cheapest way possible, and there will be more margin for them. So they were actually one of the few customers that we have that could really justify the business case like this from day one. I think I'll skip this one. You know about second screen experience, right? So the key is really to discovery on the second screen and then play it back on the big screen. So to conclude, innovation regarding TV everywhere is extremely fast. So it's difficult to make projections, but you can do some macro projections. It's a perfect storm of fragmentation, new business models, new players coming in. So it's important to stay flexible, not assume that there will be a standard emerging. And of course, TV everywhere, I think that's what we call TV everywhere today will not be a word 10 years from now, right? But the consumption of premium TV via any device over the internet will be sort of the standard going forward. That doesn't mean that the traditional broadcast distribution will go away, but it will be integrated into a TV everywhere application. It will still be cheaper to distribute some content via broadcast technology 10 years from now. Great. I think we have a couple of minutes of questions. So go ahead.
So how do you think, you have this slide from Gula, which is you're going to watch long form, you're going to watch on a big screen, and if that's going to get delivered over IP, then aren't you going to hit the fair usage policies in the ISP? And so what's going to happen in that space? Lots of content going over IP, and you're going to run out of bandwidth each month.
That's true, but I think that's a problem which will disappear over time.
Who's going to fix that? The broadcasters or the ISPs?
The ISPs. I think this is, as soon as from a consumer point of view, if you're too annoyed with your ISP because they have fair usage policy, you will switch to something else. And their costs go down, right? So likely the fair usage, because they really just want to stop the 1% that use, most of the data. Normal consumers, they don't want to stop. So I think the quotas will go up. Bandwidth requirements for normal consumption will go down. So I don't think it will be a problem in practice.
Do you mind explaining the Virgin ad on the new LG TV scenario here?
Yeah. So today, when you're a Virgin subscriber, right, you get a set-top box, a TiVo set-top box. You plug it in, or maybe there's someone installing it for you. You plug it in, plug it to your TV, and you pick up the Virgin remote and use that, and that's how you consume the content. Instead, in the future of getting this set-top box, you will, when you buy a TV, it will probably say Virgin enabled on sort of a big signage next to the TV. You buy the TV in store, maybe it's bundled with some sort of subscription, you carry it home, plug it into your cable, and then you pick up the LG remote and start it, and it will suddenly say Virgin on that one instead. Because then Virgin would know that the LG TV has been plugged into their IP network, and if that happens, they can then send over the right software over the air. Did it make sense? Yeah. And this is happening already now. Not that specific example, but around the world there are definitely TV operators doing exactly this to be sort of a set-top box less pay TV operator, and that's I think quite interesting trend. I wouldn't want to be in the set-top box manufacturing business, so that's for sure. Yeah.
So I think last year I was Fox Sports, so they, a guy I know, said they made $2 billion from linear TV,
Yeah.
and about $100 million from IP connected content.
Yeah.
So it's 5%. And that's to change slowly, but do you think there'll be pressure enough to get the bandwidth back from the broadcasters using lots of megahertz? Do you think they'll actually start turning off broadcasting?
No, I don't think so. I think what you would expect as a consumer is to, when you start the Fox Sports application on some type of device, you don't want to care about whether it's IP delivered or broadcast delivered, but that linear channel should be there. So for Fox Sports, even 10, 15 years from now, it might be shifted, but over the next 5-6 years, they don't want to waste the 95% of revenues they have from the linear channels, but they do want it to be available to consumers regardless of how they use the Fox Sports experience. So that's what I think will happen. There will be sort of hybrid experiences for consumers, and potentially it might be too expensive in the next couple of years to do some sort of linear broadcast over IP to them. There are no technology problems. I mean, you saw the WWE, that's linear over IP, no problems. And of course, if you charge $60 and for a 3-hour session, then there are money involved to justify the distribution cost. But fundamentally, there are no technology hurdles anymore.
So this is a follow-on question. Go back up the food chain. If we're going to have potential for non-linear as opposed to linear, everything goes through an MCR at the moment. So we're all going back to SDI, single things, and then downstream going to lots of devices. Do you think that actually not going to a linear flat SDI-based broadcast before we go downstream to the distribution, we can get the digital channels to exploit the fact that you've got a rich set of assets before you get to the MCR? The whole running order goes away and you get back in production and distribution merge.
Yeah, I'm probably out of my depth a bit to comment on that one, but I'm sure there will be multiple ways of actually getting the content to the various distribution methods, and I don't have any opinion on that specific question. Yeah.
So going back to your Virgin model, would the consumer be tied into Virgin with that TV set?
If it's subsidized, yes, I would expect that you do that. So you can easily imagine, buy like you do with phones, right? So if you buy this phone subsidized with a 24-month Virgin subscription, I will get the TV cheaper, right? But if I just buy it off the shelf, maybe I don't need to tie myself into the Virgin subscription. But this is, business models for TV subscriptions are notoriously complex. I'm sure there will be new innovation happening there as well. All right. Thank you very much.